Morning to you. It's another edition of Hump Day Live, the weekly show. Let me talk to Facebook really quickly. Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. Good Wednesday morning to you. It's another edition of Hump Day Live. It's my weekly show on the internet where I talk about three things. I give you a little bit of news that's relevant to the population that I serve, midlife women who want to stay active and be as healthy as possible. I give you a little bit of information about things that you might want to apply to your wellness journey as a as a three-time menopause informed personal trainer, nutrition coach, corrective exercise specialist. Just a tip that might help you on your wellness journey during this tumultuous time when your body is changing in ways that you may not quite understand. And then the third thing is just from me to you, me giving you a little information, a little inspiration to help you going on your day. Let's get into the news really quickly because we're only here for 15 minutes on Hump Day Live. And one of the most remarkable things that happened that's newsworthy over the course of the past several weeks was this study done by Dr. Lisa Mosconi. Now, if you're not familiar with Dr. Lisa, the Mona Lisa of neuroscience, if you're not familiar with Dr. Lisa, she wrote the brilliant book Brain Food, and she followed it up with a book called Menopause. Incredible. If you're in the menopause transition, whether you're perimenopausal or postmenopausal, great book to read. The research in there is phenomenal. The information that you're going to get is really applicable, and I love the way she laid out the information in that book to help you understand what's happening in your brain as you're going through the menopause transition. In any case, the news about her is that she recently did a new study. I've got the study and the information pulled up here. What they did was they took 18 women in premenopause, regular reproductive years. They took 18 women in perimenopause, the transition period of menopause, and 18 women who were postmenopausal. I believe the ages range from 45 to 55. I can't remember exactly. Let me scan the 40 to 65. Women aged 40 to 65, 18 women who were premenopausal, 18 women who are perimenopausal, and 18 women postmenopausal. And they did a scan on their brains. Now, the type of scan is called a positron emission tomography. This is something that they haven't been able to do until recently on brains. It's obviously a non-invasive way to study the brain, meaning they don't dig holes in your head and dig down to your brain. And in the course of that study, they found out that the estrogen receptors in the brain, let's back up, slow down. Estrogen receptors specifically think of them as conduits, as connections to tissue. And the way that estrogen works in getting into the tissue or affecting a system in the body is that the estrogen receptor receives estrogen, and then the receptor communicates the signals from estrogen into that tissue or into that cell. Now, if you're in the menopause transition, you're probably very familiar with sudden mood swings, cognitive challenges, the brain fog of it all they talk about. So those receptors are important. And what we know about estrogen receptors is in some of the systems in your body, they start to dissipate, they start to go away. So as you're traveling through that menopausal journey, you're having less and less estrogen receptors, as well as less and less estrogen circulating in your body symptoms, in your body systems rather. What they found out in this study was remarkable. They found out that premenopausal women had less estrogen receptors in their brain, some of the specific places in the brain, I won't get into that, but they have less estrogen receptors than perimenopausal women. So it looks like the brain is changing the amount of estrogen receptors to, for lack of a better term, sort of absorb more estrogen when less estrogen is present. So the brain seems to know that there's less estrogen circulating, and in an effort to keep cognitive function high, in an effort to keep itself working properly, as you get into perimenopause, more estrogen receptors grow in the brain so they can better receive the lesser amount of estrogen. You know who had the most estrogen receptors in the brain? Women that were postmenopausal, just meaning they've gone through a 12-month period where they have not had a menstrual cycle, if that's easily determined, if you've had hysterectomy, et cetera, that may not be the easiest way to tell. But they've gone through that 12-month process where they had no monthly cycle and are now clinically postmenopausal. They had the most estrogen receptors in certain key areas of the brain. This is phenomenal, number one, because the PET scan, the positron emission tomography, was 100% accurate in its findings, but more so because it shifts what we think may be possible in terms of staving off neurodegenerative diseases of the brain, dementia, Alzheimer's, et cetera, et cetera. Really hopeful research, the first of its kind study. If you nerd out on this stuff like I do, you're probably really interested in the information. And even if you don't nerd out on this stuff, it's just good to know that, ladies, your body is taking you through natural transitions, and we often focus on what might be diminished with age. In this case, I think it's just a brilliant example of how your body is looking out for you, protecting you, attempting to ensure your future, because it's remarkable what your brains can do, ladies. That's an amazing study. We'll circle back to that another time as more and more information comes out about it. I want to move on to the tip of the day. And the tip of the day is for your nutrition as you're going through the menopause journey, particularly for active midlife women. That's who I serve as a personal trainer and nutrition coach. For active midlife women, you may want to consider the timing of your nutrition. And I mean that in 3 different ways. Stay with me here. This will probably help you get better results from your exercise, from your training, from all the hard work that you're doing in the gym, around the track, outside, whatever that may be. The first tip is you may want to, let me rephrase that. The first tip is it's important for you to get some fuel before you exercise. Probably gone are the days of any type of fasted training of any kind. It's probably not helpful to you at this moment. Your body's a little bit different in how it receives and works through stress. And the resilience to stress isn't quite as much as it was in your premenopausal years when you had an abundance of estrogen, specifically estradiol. Because of that fact, we don't want to go into stress. Exercise is a stress. It's eustress. It's a positive stress, eustress, but it's still a stressor. We don't want to go into that stressful expenditure of energy underfueled. That's a secondary stress. Because a lot of the times in this period of life, stress leads to complications, leads to inflammation, et cetera, et cetera. So working out with less fuel is an additional stressor that's probably not going to lead you in the direction that you go. This is one of the first things that my clients and I try to work on, is getting properly fueled for exercise. So somewhere within the hour before you exercise, you want to get a little fuel. That doesn't mean that you need a full Denny's meal or Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity from IHOP. It just means that you want your body to be properly fueled as you go into exercise so that your body will be willing to adapt to the exercise that you're doing. Your body will be willing to change in the way that you want it to based on the exercise that you're giving it. So you might want to consider, let me take that might out again, about 15 grams of protein before you exercise, maybe about 30 grams of carbohydrates. Not a full meal, but having a little protein, having a little carbs as you go into your exercise routine can really help you maintain the intensity that you need for that routine. So you don't sort of bonk out during the course of your exercise routine. That could be as simple as I have clients that pour a little pre-mixed protein drink into their morning coffee, and then they may eat a cup of berries. Plenty of carbohydrates, plenty of protein. That could be something like avocado on toast, just a little bit, particularly if you're eating a whole grain bread, like an Ezekiel bread or something like that. But getting a little fuel before you go into your workout is important. The timing is important. On the back end of your exercise, particularly exercise that has driving intensity, a good established strength training routine, you want to get protein probably within the hour after, right? And I know that we've debunked the myth of nutrient timing or the anabolic window under which you have to eat after you work out, that's mostly debunked for men. For women, who are active through the menopause transition, you may find that you don't get the changes that you want from your body when you're underfueled after. After you do that workout, you've submitted your body to stress and stressors. Your body is ripe for adaptation. It wants to change. And the only expense it wants, the way you buy the ticket to change, is to give your body some fuel after. We're looking at probably the biggest shot of protein that you're going to get during the course of the day, 30 to 40 grams of protein within the hour after you do your strength training. That's going to take you out of what we call a catabolic state, a state where your body may compromise its own muscle, where it may be signaling to store extra body fat, and put you into an anabolic state, a state where your muscle is growing and you're actually able to burn body fat, utilize body fat for energy. All too often, that stress post-workout lingers. We wait and we wait and we wait and we wait to fuel up. And what happens is we get into a place where we're continuously compromising the body. So you typically will choose to go harder at your workout, eat less, further compromising and stressing the body, and having a cycle of diminished returns in terms of your exercise and nutrition. So 15 or so grams of protein before you work out, 30 to 40 after, matching that with about 30 carbohydrates before, maybe about 60 carbohydrates or so after your workout. It's a good recipe. The third nutrient timing tip that I will give, and then we'll move on, is you may want to look at time restricted eating. I know a lot of people out there like fasting. It can be helpful, but the idea of going through that menopause transition, fasting during the course of the day when your body needs all the energy that it can get, it's probably going to be problematic for you. So why not just stop eating earlier? Cut your feeding off 2 hours before your bedtime and fast through the night when we fast naturally anyway. It's less stressful for most of you. It's less stress on the body for sure. And it's a better way to open up a window of not eating if that's something that's important to you philosophically, although women typically do better in a fed state, not a fasted state. Last tip from me to you. Every week I try to give you a little inspiration to get through your day, a little something to help you process all the stresses of life. And the tip that I want to give you today is to not deliberate. Stop waiting. You're living a finite experience here. You're only going to be on this planet for so long. One thing that I've picked up that I work with my clients on is in the context of decision making, instead of trying to always make the right decision, make the decision and then make it right with your effort. You can always correct a decision, but you can never get the time back that you spent deliberating on making the decision. Most good decisions are a result of a decision being made and making an adjustment to that decision after the fact. But when we wait so long to make a perfect decision, we compromise time that we can't recover. And oftentimes we never start the ball rolling that leads you to the actual great result of your decision-making process, because it is a process. So don't delay making a decision for 10 years when it's probably only going to take 30 days for you to correct the decision that you made. Don't deliberate. You get one existence on this planet. It's finite, and we don't know when it's going to end. So stay locked in. I'll see you next week for another Hump Day Live. Until next time, let's keep it simple. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X. I'll see you guys next time. But I'll be back here tomorrow for another live broadcast. Have a great week, and I hope that was helpful.